Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share a little bit today about a brief history of SEO, search engine optimization, for those of you who are trying to figure out how to rank a website in the new Google ecosystem. So I think an alternative title for this talk could be Why Your Ranking Probably Sucks. And that's not a dig, but it is a little bit because I see a number of people out there who are either trying to do their own SEO or they've hired somebody who's really cheap, and cheap is usually never good, whether it's food or medical care, and it certainly applies to your business and promoting your business. But and as a result of using old tactics, they have suffered penalties, and they're no longer a big player in their industry. And so I just want to share a little bit about why that's probably the case, and to help people get up to speed in 2015, 2016 for how good SEO should be done. Okay, so first, we have to talk about the past, otherwise known by some people as the glory days. It used to be that with SEO, anybody who could afford software like Scrapebox or XRumor or Article Marketing Demon or any of these sort of heavily automated ways of publishing content, whether it is backlinks or articles, whatever it is, whatever it might be, they could just basically spam their way to the top. And that was the way that everybody used to do SEO. And they would build these very thin sites about a topic, let's say, I don't know, dog training. And then they would put a product up there from ClickBank where they would get a commission, an affiliate commission. And then they would just bombard the site with thousands and thousands of backlinks. And that used to work really, really well. It was sort of like a race to see who could build the most backlinks. And people were concerned about quality a little bit, they cared about page rank back then, trying to get backlinks from high page rank sites. Well, that worked really well until it didn't. And all of those spun articles that ended up looking like nonsense, where if you don't know, a spun article is essentially marketers would take an article from somewhere, they would put it into a piece of software that would basically include synonyms for every word in the article. And then you could hit a button and that would spin it, and it would deliver a number of different permutations of the same article. They would all be worded somewhat differently. They were technically unique, but usually very nonsensical. So if any human being read it, it would just, sound like gibberish. And aside from having some keywords and links in there, they were really of no value. Well, for better or worse, Google cracked down on that. And I, for one, have changed my opinion that, I think this is actually a good thing, because it leveled the playing field a little bit more, and it helped weed out people who really weren't trying to provide anything of value. They were just attempting to game the system. And so all of those sites that engaged in these things were penalized. And that is because Google started changing their algorithms. And they've had a number of different names for their algorithms, and the names themselves aren't important. But we get a lot of business owners who come to us, needing to disavow links, or they're wondering where their site went, that no longer are they getting phone calls. And that's because 99% of the time, it's not because all the other sites are doing, super amazing SEO. It's that their site, or whoever they hired to do SEO for their site, was engaging in all kinds of spammy practices. Because a lot of SEOs are very short-term in their thinking. I see businesses making a huge mistake by hiring people, outsourcing their SEO overseas to people who could be, very nice and decent people, but for whom English is not their first language. And it makes no sense to me why a business would do that, but these people were handing over their livelihood to people who had no real vested interest in that business itself. Their vested interest was getting a monthly retainer, of $300-$500, somewhere around there probably. I see some of these guys charging $99 and just think, this is insane. It is the McDonald's of the SEO world. And yet business owners are still so gullible that they fall for this stuff. They get some spam email and they do this. Well, Google has been penalizing businesses who do this, who use low-level, spammy SEOs by changing their algorithms to emphasize quality. No longer are backlinks worth quite what they were worth. And I say that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that backlinks aren't important. They clearly are. And there's a reason why a lot of SEOs have started building what are known as private blog networks in order to control their own links rather than putting them out on somebody else's website, and perhaps having that website, maybe it was good the day they put the link there, but the website owner allows all these other people to put links there that may not be very reputable, and it ends up actually damaging company A, who was one of the early people to put their link there. So long story short, Google has released a number of different iterations of their algorithms in order to change the search results in an attempt to improve search results for people who are looking for businesses or information. Now, was this bad news for SEOs? Yes, generally speaking. Many people lost their rankings during big updates of algorithms, and perhaps some of you who are watching remember that time that your sites were doing really well, and as you know, you got a penalty and your site just basically went away. The bad side of it is it's not just bad news for SEOs, it's bad news for a lot of good people and businesses who entrusted their companies and their websites to an SEO. Who knows who this person was calling themselves an SEO, Joe Bag of Donuts down the street, or who knows who located somewhere in Sri Lanka who may not know very much, not only about the business itself or the country, where the business is located, but may not really have a great grasp of English. And they've hired these people to write articles, and, it's just crazy. But anyway, those people who engaged in that kind of stuff, they were hurt, definitely. And a lot of people, there was a huge backlash against Google. Who are they? Who was Matt Cutts, who was the head of Google's web span team at the time? Who are they to do this? But when you think about it, honestly, it is their ecosystem. Google is in the business of making money, and they're attempting to push for quality. Because think about it from the point of view of somebody who's using Google as a search engine. If you type in dog training, and the only sites that are appearing as a result, at least on the first page, the only sites that are appearing are those that are trying to sell dog training programs and so on and so forth. And they're just these really kind of scammy, not interactive, thrown together websites where somebody can click through to buy some affiliate product sold by somebody else, not even the website maker. That's not really the kind of world that most people want to live in, really. the word dog training or the term dog training could mean anything. It could mean that this person just wants some information. Where can I learn about dog training? And that's usually what most people are looking for. So it might show, a Wikipedia article now that the algorithms have changed, or it might show, somebody who's very popular, who's that guy, Caesar, whoever, he's on TV. He has that dog training show. The algorithm now aims to show people a breadth of information, and then from there attempts to discern what it is that the person is looking for. So Google has really been pushing for quality, and I think that's a good thing for all of us, because I don't want to have every search result that I make result in just a bunch of spammed out websites, trying to sell me some crap, frankly. So the other reason, Google did this, I think, is to create a little bit of chaos and fear to control SEOs, to show them, here is a proverbial warning shot over the bow to warn SEOs that if you continue to engage in this behavior, you are not going to be rewarded. Now, SEOs will always find a way around, particularly black hat SEOs will find a way around this. And they were using, SAPE links from Russia. They were building so-called private blog networks and building those and then selling links to people on their quote unquote blog networks. Well, guess who else can buy those links? Google. And Google has plenty of money and plenty of cash on hand to buy whatever, crappy SEO package you're selling on your website to 100 other people. And Google, if they buy that, then they find the footprint of your sites. They find that you've been selling the same thing, and overnight, you and everybody else on that network lose your rankings. So it was a bit of a warning to SEOs and to people who were trying to game the system that, hey, look, this isn't going to work, or it might work for a short time, but you're going to be forced to keep making site after site after site, and it's not worth it. Just produce something of decent quality and move on. Now, what's happened within Google itself is that they have launched machine learning, and they wanted to make a smarter search experience. They weren't like, it wasn't like you had 1,000 librarians at Google just arranging all the websites like a librarian would books. At some point, you have to automate this process of deciding where to place a particular website in your ranking system. So now the way that Google uses machine learning is they are emphasizing things like the location, where they are, where the searcher is. So they know that if you are in Tucson, Arizona, or if you're in Singapore, or if you are in Ontario or London, that you are probably looking for, at least at times, local results. If you type in Italian restaurant and you're sitting in Tucson, and Google starts feeding you, websites about Italian restaurants in London, then that is not a good search experience for you. So Google has worked very, very hard to develop their algorithm to understand and learn how people search, how they search based on their location. Maybe are they looking for things like how to start an Italian restaurant, or do they want to know where there is a good Italian restaurant close to them or close by them? Also, the language that people use on a website is becoming part of the algorithm. It used to be that SEOs would use, they just try to load as many keywords into an article and put them in bold and make sure you're using, H2, H3 tags and all of that stuff, and using that keyword to link out to the other site or to some other site that you're trying to promote. it, now that used to work back in the day, but now Google is much smarter with machine learning. They clearly understand that search and language are much more complex these days, and they're trying to use their algorithm to reflect that. And so it all comes down basically to the intent. They want to make sure that they are meeting the intent of the people who are searching. So you might say that they can determine what a good search engine result is based on whether people who are searching for that term, whether they click on a site and then back off, or whether they ignore those results and type in something else, whether they have to click onto page 2 or page 3, whatever. The point is that Google is trying to refine that search experience as much as possible. And they're using machine learning basically to do that. So Google is actually, their algorithm is teaching itself and learning as it goes. And I believe it's almost individual specific. So if you are logged into a Gmail account or to Google Chrome and you're using that on a daily basis, Google, I believe, is collecting, it's pretty clear, they're tracking you and they're collecting data about how you search, what your search habits are, what kind of sites you like, and they're offering those up to you. You'll see this if you're logged into, let's say if you have a Google Plus page, and if you've posted things on there, if you're logged into your Google Chrome account while you're searching and you search for your own name or something like that, or something related to an article that you just posted on your Google Plus page, you'll see most likely, I would say 7 times out of 10, you'll see in the results things from posts that you've made on Google Plus. So Google is learning, and Google is becoming self-aware, it seems. Their algorithm is. And what I would tell SEOs is that the future of SEO, or if you are not an SEO and you're just interested in it, the future of SEO probably looks a lot like your analytics variables. So Google is looking at things like click-through rates. How many people, if they search for the term in Tucson, Arizona, Italian restaurant, what percentage of those people are clicking through to local restaurants that sell Italian food in Tucson? How many of them are just looking for like a Wikipedia type informational article? And whatever tends to have the higher click-through rate is probably going to rise or at least stick pretty high on the first page. Now, if there's a lot of bounce from that, if they see a lot of people clicking on it and then just sort of after 2 or 3 seconds, like, no, that's not what I'm looking for, and clicking off, with enough instances like that, Google is less likely, I would believe, to serve that to people. And they want to also see whether people engage with the content. Are they clicking not only on the home page, but are they clicking through to a contact page, or maybe they go to a blog? Do they scroll down on that blog? Do they read a bit? Do they click on things within the page? Are people really into it? So whatever you see in your Google Analytics dashboard, I think Google is showing you, here are things that we think matter and we think you should know about the experience visitors are having on your site, with the idea that you ought to be improving those variables as much as possible. Why? Because that improves Google's search algorithm, and that's what they want. Google is basically using you as their product to deliver search engine results. Okay, so if you're an SEO, what are you to do? What do we do now? Because if you were somebody who was always trying to game the system, right? You were always trying to find a quick and easy way to get your clients to number one. What do you do now? Because clearly Google doesn't work the way that it used to. Yes, I know backlinks are fine, and they work up to a point, but you can't take a site, generally speaking, to number one with backlinks alone. Um, at the same time, you'll see the picture I have in the lower right image from Office Space. We have clients that come to us with this attitude. If you can make us number one on Google over the weekend, that'd be great, right? Clients who come with unrealistic expectations in terms of budget. I don't want to pay more than $500 a month or something for SEO, and I want to be on the first page. Well, that's frankly ridiculous. And I know, and I think SEOs are foolish to sell themselves to the lowest bidder. That is, if you're any good. Okay, so, point number one, if you're an SEO and you're just trying to figure out, or maybe you're new to it, stick with good on-page SEO. Make sure your page is easy to navigate. You're using key terms or at least major terms and facets of your business at the page level. So if you are, if you are an amusement park, right? You might say one of your pages has to do with roller coasters. The other one has to do with the kids section. The other page has to do with concessions and where people can buy food. And the other one has to do with accommodations or something else nearby, or transportation or something like that. You don't want to cluster all your information into one page. Clearly, you want to separate it and segment it, and as much as possible, silo it if possible. That's not always easy depending on the web platform that you're working with. But you want to have good on-page SEO, and that means, your pages are loading quickly. You want to make sure that you have done things like compressing your images, and that you're using alt image tags, and you're using all your meta tags in the way that you should be without spamming it. Now, hopefully you know what that means. If you're watching this and you're an SEO, you know what that means. If you don't know what that means, you probably need to hire an SEO. Okay. But make it your goal. I think this is what we owe to clients. Make it your goal to get visitor engagement, to have a website that is robust, that piques the interest of the visitor. And that includes even rewriting titles and meta descriptions. Typically, I find questions work really well. If people are looking for something related to, let's say, SEO, I wouldn't just write in the meta description necessarily, click here to learn about SEO, right? That's kind of dull. But something like, do you know the top 10 things that you need to do or that you can do to your website right now to improve your SEO? That kind of thing gets people excited on the search results page to click through. And that is half the battle. The other part of the battle is having decent web design. Again, it doesn't have to be a $15,000, super customized site, but decent web design, something that's clean, not cluttered, not too much stuff on the page, a site that loads quickly, good content that is fresh. Freshness matters. And I know that there's, a group of people, they don't like to hear, just build good content. That's what Google's been telling us. And it's true. I have articles and pages on different sites that have ranked for years. And it's probably because there's been a lot of engagement with those things. But it's really good to develop content. You want to think of this, you are a host. Your website is like hosting a party or having people over. You don't want to always talk about the same thing. Or, when people come visit you, you don't talk about the same thing. You don't serve them the same food. You mix it up a little bit, right? You do something slightly different. You don't wear the same clothes every day and so on. So keep it fresh. And make it your goal to drive visitors deeper into your website as well. That is, super important. You don't want them just to engage on a surface level in most instances. You want them to click through and become familiar with your brand and become loyal and all of that good stuff. Now, there's a little bit more. So when you are generating content, you want it to be fairly thorough. Don't just put up, a couple paragraphs about your business or your service. Really go deep. And here's why. Because a site, for instance, about fitness that doesn't mention things related to diet or calories, my belief is Google will not consider to be very informative, since 90% of other sites and pages that are popular on this topic almost always mention these terms. So it could be that you have a site that's fairly decent, but it's just not deep enough. And in order to rank more, you don't need a ton more backlinks. You need deeper content. Yes, backlinks are important. Again, I'm not dismissing that. But deeper content, better content, something that really, really pushes beyond where you are right now. And again, social signals. It's hard to say how much this matters. It's a huge debate in SEO, how much correlation there is between ranking position and social signals. Now, correlation isn't necessarily causation. That said, for a number of terms, search terms, when you type into the search results, you will find that a lot of the things that appear in the top 5 to 10 spaces also have a decent amount of social shares, and it's usually directly proportional to the ranking. Now, it doesn't mean that you can just social signal your way to the top. You're not just going to buy some cheap service where somebody uses a bot and gets you 10,000 new Twitter followers or something. That doesn't mean anything. Or somebody shares it across some fake network. That's a waste of your time. But real, genuine social signals. So good information tends to be shared socially. And the more it's shared socially, I think that reinforces that content in the eyes of Google. As well, the diversity of terms that are used to find a site will also, I think, help. So, for instance, if I'm searching for funny noses and funny Red Nose Day costumes and buy funny noses, if all of those searches are leading me to Red Nose Day, right? I forget whose site this actually or the site this actually is, whether it's Claire's or I can't remember. But if when people around the world or in your local area are searching for somewhat of the same terms and coming to your site and not clicking off immediately and saying, oh, no, this isn't what I want. But if they're saying, oh, okay, I can find some stuff, order stuff. Okay, I'll click there, or sponsor and donate. That's what I'm looking for, or what we do. If they're finding helpful information there, then it's more likely that that site will start sticking for a number of terms related to terms within that industry. So again, I'm trying to make the case for building a deeper site. So in a nutshell, just to wrap up, in SEO, the history of SEO, you'll see how it's changed from purely spamming. Now we're moving definitely more in a quality, the direction of quality. It's not going to go back. It just isn't. So what can you do? You can try to outdo your competition, not just by a little bit, but by orders of magnitude. You can tighten up your site in the way that it looks. I mean, you don't want a client, or you don't want your own site to look like this, just chaos and a bunch of little blinking banners and day glow colors and so on, just very distracting, or strange navigation. You want to clean that up. You want to be basically a neat, consistent site that is about one general topic and that goes really deep into it. Essentially, you want to be the answer that visitors are searching for. If you are an SEO, then that means your goal should be to help your client deepen their content. And that's a way for you to work with them. Either you do the writing, or if you're not equipped to, you ask the client if they would like to do that and make some suggestions. But you can't just let the editorial aspect go away. You can use, you can find writers, and you can outsource that bit if you're not a good writer. I personally don't think that's a terribly great idea, typically because most people who will write content are writing low-level content or very simplistic content, and they don't have a real vested interest in seeing this business owner succeed. So I think it's better either to have the business owner sit down with them and ask them what 10 things are really important to your clients or customers. And then you do the research as the SEO, or if you have a content specialist that you work with in your agency, use them to do that. But really think through your editorial calendar. And if clients have existing content, which most do, you want to push for ways to deepen that, to keep it fresh, and then to reshare it so that it does generate some sort of social interaction. And I think that's really the big theme here. Google wants to see that not only does a site have a clear and coherent message, but rather that it's building interaction. It's a site that people want to share. I mean, this is the reason why sites like BuzzFeed, say what you will about them, and yes, a lot of times their content is a little bit banal, but it gets shared and people interact with it and they love it. They stay on the page and it gets shared everywhere. And it's also evergreen content. It's content that can be typically reused over and over and over again. It stays relevant. So I think there's something to be learned from sites like that. Anyway, now, if you've liked this little chat, I invite you to share it. Share it with people in your business. If you are a business owner and you are looking for an SEO agency, then I would welcome you to visit us, jacksonvilleseos.com. You can click on that link and it will take you right to our site. And our goal is to help you, the business owner, to get more customers, but to do it in a way that is ethical and that reflects good search engine optimization practices. Not the kind of thing that, a quick flash in the pan, you rank for 2 or 3 months and then your site is dead and you have to rebuild it or rebrand or whatever it is, but to really work with you, the business owner. If you've liked this, again, please share it with somebody, either that you, maybe somebody in your company who is looking into SEO, or it could be with a friend that is starting a new business and they want to learn a little bit more about SEO. We would be more than happy to help you with that process. I thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. All the best.